Greetings, my friends. So today's topic will be shadow work, addictions, and who is in control. It's a very hard subject. Not as in being controlled, as in overproducing control. Things that come to mind that science has found out with measurements. So let's begin with addictions, because I have relatives that are in deep substance. So let's go to alcohol. If it stings, ask yourself, why does it sting? So in the cases, because of family members, and you care and you're interested, you read, you study, so you kind of get a little bit of a grip in this ascension game on psychology. Not only psychology, it's also the, you can say, esoteric aspect of that. The unknown, the occult. We call it spiritual, I call it the software. Many labels, and people are misled by labels, and they jump on labels and trying to use the label to make a point when they're actually not making a point. So one thing with addiction is that when they measure the brain state with alcoholism, let's say you're in 20 years deep, 10 years is enough. They can measure that your alpha levels are in the basement. What does that mean? That means you have a depression. And when you drink, you try to beat that depression by getting back into that state. But the chemical actually creates synaptically a false identity, a character profile that gives you the illusion that it is so, and you become something else, like Jekyll and Hyde. Some have it extreme, some have it mild, some have become the other shadow being, which is what we talk about. Shamans say if you have an alcohol addiction, you have a ghoul. You have a spirit that gives you the thought that you need that experience in order to be in that state. That means you have a possession, not one that takes the entirety of your consciousness, but enough of your consciousness to destroy your life. So I've seen people losing their marriage, their children, their job, their entire existence, because the ego eats it away. And the ego is the trigger that gets you into addictions or other things that we have. We are kind of emotional junkies for bliss, but we forgot the way or the pathway, how this goes. So I have the 6 devils of the ego. Ego, when misused, means simply edging God out or energy guided out. Any energy that you are guiding away from your soul contract, from your purpose, from what you're supposed to be doing here, creates a deficit within. And people have been debating this, but I have to burst a few bubbles, and I've been through several studies, and if you don't know, study how brain waves are being measured. Anybody can have their brain waves measured. There are simple tools that you can buy, like around $100. One is called Muse, to see, can you really meditate? Are you in a meditative state? So they did a survey with, let's say, transcendental meditators, and found out of the students that they have measured the brain states, 64% are trying. They're not really transcendental meditating, they're imagining the attempt that it would be so, and there are 15% of in that are just napping. So you're not in that state. The embodiment of a state, even the embodiment of Zen monks, is measurable by attainment of a brain state. They even go further. They measured that if you have a correlation between theta and alpha, you creating a circuitry And in the ancient days, this was called a halo. So if you have enough of that correlating synchronicities running, you're creating a halo, because you're running pretty much high voltage through your cellular matrix. And if people are sensitive, such as indigos and crystals and rainbows, they can see that. In the church, you see the holy beings, the apostles. Well, do they have a halo? They were not holy to be worshipped. They were in completeness and in a blissful state because they had correlating brain states that they embodied. They went further. I studied other people out there, such also the Bio-Cybernaut Institute of Sedona, and they measured Zen monks, but dudes that were in like 21 years as in beginners, and then 41 years in masters. And there is a state that can be attained after meditation that you can embody by brainwave. Not by talking, not by ego and all the things you want to say and explain that it is so, because it is imaginary. The real thing is if you can really embody that, and it can be measured what type of a character you're running by doing a biofeedback. These deals are not the cheapest, but you can nowadays speed things up through technology and learn as you go, meaning instead of 40 years to learn to drive a bicycle, you can do it in 7 days. The experience of first time riding a bike will be the same, whether you sit 40 years in an ashram or 7 days in an isolated chamber, and you're playing back the sounds as in a biofeedback that is instant. So you instantaneously know what you're doing. And in the holy realms and where the shamans deal, the oversoul knows when you're messing up. You know when you're not right. And when people say, yeah, from a Buddhistic point of view, there is no wrong or right path, there's a destructive path and there's a creative path. Make no mistake. In the Egyptian mythology, Anubis weighs your heart before you enter the gates. If you even cross the river Styx, which are the Milky Ways, if you can even transcend this galaxy, if you're worthy. There's also another goddess, they call her the Destroyer. If your soul is damned, and I don't know, you would be a tyrant or an emperor, worse than the worst, and your soul really can't compute, and you are so evil that you're beyond repair, your consciousness will be dismantled. You will turn into little unconscious units, having to find other units to form a soul again. So heaven protects itself, protects consciousness. So let's talk about the 6 devils that let you know that shadow is running you, as an ego is running you, and you're not running yourself. And you need to control yourself. You need to own your thoughts. You need to know where your thoughts are coming from. And many just go blah, 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 and have no idea where actually the intel is coming from. And it should be coming from your source and your oversoul and filtered through your oversoul. Many books describe this. There are Tibetan books of the dead. There are the Nag Hammadi papers. There are the Mahabharata. There are Pramanas described. There are Vedic texts. If scholars or science wants to dismiss what the ancients have written before that knew a little bit more than you and I, then it shows, that as the natives say, the gods or the star brothers look at the human race at our height of ignorance and our fall. And we had many. The books warn us, prophecies warned us and keep warning us, Nostradamus if you want to study that, and we keep not learning or cycling things that should be clear, where insanity is described by trying the same thing and expecting a different outcome, or sitting somewhere forever and not making a change and waiting for better weather. That's also a little bit of a looped insanity. So don't let the shadow run you. So the natives explain that the Western civilization has declared there's such a thing as a devil, personification of a devil, because they don't want to deal with their shadow. Meaning, we in the Western civilization said, okay, I have no shadow, the devil made me, or it's all the devil's work, or it's the devil, or there's a thing that describes when somebody is evil, commits a crime, or commits evil. You have a shadow. When the shadow is unintegrated, but the shadow wants to run the show. The shadow is the destroyer. We're born in the dualism. We're individuals. Dualism in division. Okay, we're not unified yet. We're born, as you've seen in spirit science, we're born with patches. We're damaged goods. We're not fully conscious. We're traumatized through thousands of years of war. But let me stay with the psychology of that. If somebody that has an addiction wants to make a point or say something, that can also not be taken serious. It's in a box because you are obviously not in control. The person that is in control, that is, as in the monastery we're checked that you are sober, you have discipline, you show up when you show up, you put your money where your mouth is, you don't make promises, you activate. You, and we're all human, and I'm working on trying to attain that too, not to react, but to act. This is how I do, this is what I do. Either there is resonance or there's dissonance. There's also people that don't want to hear. They'll shut down and say, I don't understand what you're saying, and they get very aggravated. Making a point, not making a point, that's called cognitive dissonance. I know these things because I study that, because I'm interested. This is why do certain people have certain patterns of reactive motive. And you can pack that next to one another, and it requires observation, observatory skills, and intelligence to see the pattern, and it's always the same. So before I go from the mosquito to the elephant to what's relevant to sediments, let me read the 6 devils, which are over and over and over I read, and now it's also been measured. Doubt is one of the devils. Distractibility, forgetfulness, drowsiness, as in dizziness at times, aversion, and boredom. Boredom is like the worst. And you can almost say boredom is a demon. If boredom creeps in, it creeps in like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm bored. I need this and this and this and this and this to be satisfied. So the boredom kind of uses the ego as in the shadow. The shadow tells you, well, if I have, let's say, people that respect me, friends that I like, and they're all perfect, and my money is here, and whatever I want is here, and everything that you want is according to what you want, you'll make a promise, because the ego does that, then you'll be better. But when in actuality they measured people like that, you're depressed and you keep running the ruckus over and over and over, meaning you won't be able to make friends. And if you make friends, then you become, sometimes you parent, you become highly critical of them, what they do wrong or why they don't fit, and you have a very small roster of what you let in. The flexibility of modality, of tolerance of what you allow becomes very small, and nobody wants to hang out with you because you have to bitch about everything and everything is wrong, like nothing can go right. Like, and many people have that, reflecting on family and my past life, is that every day somebody can find something that creates upset and why things don't work. And I see myself trying to find a way out to survive this, to be optimistic, to say, maybe this works for me. And if it's a grain of sand that I have, or a pebble, to create another world, like Sebastian in Never Ending Story, then I save this little golden deal and go where nobody is and create my worlds and preserve those worlds and save those worlds. That's why I also understand the movie Fantastic Beasts and How to Find Them, with Newt Scamander, who finds these monsters or these weird offspring that he saves in a dimension because he believes they're worth saving. He has a good heart, but that turns you into a freak in the eyes of the misery that runs the consensus of the human race. And if you don't fit that protocol, you're in trouble. You'll be criticized, you'll be ridiculed, So we adapt the dysfunctionality to try to be that, fill that bracket, and be accepted and try to be human, the status quo human, which is what we're not. And that is a cycle that has the opportunity now, as clearance is coming in, to end. That's why we're ascending. So let's bring in another devil, distractibility. If you're easy to distract, and I had that growing up. Yeah, let's go here, and I'm like, yeah, let's go here, yeah. And life is not exciting enough, so your ego designs something that you need your cell phone to find something that is more exciting than you can make it. So you don't look at yourself as an event. Buddhism teaches that. Be the event and have people come and meet you because you are the event. You are happening. And the ego goes, everything else around you is happening. Nothing is happening here. And it's whack. You know, this is whack, this is whack, this is whack. I don't like this, this is whack. The ego has problems with everything. And that gets you busy in a state of not being in bliss, and the ego wins because the ego is the parasite that feeds on that. So anything that can distract you will test you, will tempt you, will distract you, and will actually if you cannot develop a good focus to not be distracted or protect that, then ego will address anything that's more interesting than you. Meaning that, what's the next message on your phone? What's the next endeavor? What's the next endeavor that you can control? And when the endeavor is out of control, or not in your control, you get jealous, you attack it, it doesn't work your way. You don't have a major thing that comes in here is allowance. When you create allowance, is that you stop resisting, you see what's happening, and you let it happen the way it happens without saying what you want or how you want to design it. Give up the controls and see the miracles that can unfold, and what people will do when they free or let free, or you let them free, or you release yourself, or you free yourself. We go through the 6 and then parallels and things what you can do. Forgetfulness is it's a subliminal design by the ego that, did I do that? I don't remember. Well, when you say I don't remember, I spoke to a friend that's deep in psychology that I consult all the time when I go deeper into topics that I don't quite understand, or I think I need a different opinion. And my friend says, having to say that I don't remember is actually admitting that there was something that wasn't right, but since I don't remember, I have no responsibility. Easy way out. It's an easy way out. The body can create that dementia. The body can actually create pockets where the mineral deficiency is so crappy that you don't even know you designed it that way, and you become dement. This can be changed, this can be reversed. Tests have shown that with brain measurements. It's the attitude towards life that you're having designs this entire blueprint around you. Dizziness, by not feeling well and not being really here, is also this ungroundedness that the ego creates. But the ego, you have to understand, operates in disguise, uses the mind. Carolyn Mays said that the mind is a bullshit artist. If you let that dog run, it can concoct and fabricate stuff and create ruckus and upset. You won't believe that you're creating it. Like, begin with, today you decide to go out. You're going out, and you allow. You do your best to embody that you have no opinion. And people meet you, people say hi, some people you want to talk to, some people you want to see, some people you don't want to see. Everything that comes across your path is a blueprint of your subconscious. There's no escape. So if there's something in your subconsciousness that's coming at you that you don't want to deal with, you're going around it. So in real life, there is this person in aisle 7 and I actually have something in aisle 7, but you know what? I'm going around that aisle and leave the store quicker because I don't want to deal with that. Well, then you have an issue in your subconscious in aisle 7 that you don't want to deal with. But guess what this issue will do? That's how your ego messes with you. It will show up in aisle 11, come back again. Then it'll check you how many times you're going around it. It gets bigger because you're empowering it. You give it space. So now it has more aisles to access. Isn't that interesting? And you're like, all of a sudden I can't go to this facility anymore and get my favorite stuff because this is everywhere. You're not handling it. We are failing the discipline to confront that shadow. Aversion, same thing. When you really become nuclear reactive against something that you totally dislike, and you make a real shit pile out of a story that's not that important, and you blow it up, and you blow that balloon out of proportion, and it takes off, and you have so much heat and so much steam why you describe why that person is so wrong, or why everybody's doing everything wrong but you. That also has remnants of narcissism. It's all about you. Nobody has an opinion. Forget that it can be even a shared opinion. And we need to learn to control our ego. So do I. I mean, how do you have compassion for the bully that kicks you in your groin? Buddha is great. Buddha is great. No, there are points in life where you affirm boundaries and you make the bully stop. And sometimes, this is Earth, we have to say no. No. It's funny to observe when somebody doesn't agree with you or is not in resonance. That is okay. Here's what I learned. I don't have to propagate that to the world. I don't have to be on websites that I don't like. Why would you be in a restaurant eating food that you don't like to order and you don't like actually the entire seasoning there? Why would you even sit there and go through that? Person A sits in a restaurant. That's how this ego runs you. And the waiter says, so what's your order? Well, I don't like tomatoes. I don't like garlic. I don't like pepper. I don't like flour. I don't like corn. So the person mentions everything they don't like and they don't want to order until the waiter kind of rolls his eyes and goes like, okay, so can you order what you would like? This is how the universe talks to you, except the universe doesn't roll eyes. The universe is patient. The universe sits there and waits until you make up your mind and you know what you actually want. The thing is also the confusion and the chaos within the egoic mind. You don't know what you want. You're all over the place and there's always a problem. And then you have a next solution and then you say, when I'm having, I don't know, when I have golden wings, then I'm going to be the angel of, I don't know, fortitude and everything is going to be mine. Clip, here are your wings and you're flying around and then you have all of this and then all of a sudden ego comes back, well, I'm not satisfied with it. There's something else going on. We have to stop saying, when I get the millions, then everything is going to be better. Well, I'm an MC right now. I'm writing lyrics and poetry. I'm not willing to learn. Well, give me, I don't know, $200 million in advance, and then I'll be a good rapper. It's BS. The mind is bullshitting you with things that it fabricates so you can feel better. And you know why you know it's BS? Belief system? Because it's not sustainable. You give yourself an idea, you reach that idea, and you're depressed again. Why? And that's where my compassion comes in. You don't know any better. Because you're biochemically imbalanced. Through food, through life, through traumata, or how you even have set up the flow of serotonin, endorphins, tryptophan, tryptamine, methyl groups, everything. 90% is mind state, 10% is body, for everything that you do. For healing, bodybuilding, all of that good stuff. When your mind is right, and you have the embodiment of owning your thoughts, keeping it clear, keeping it clean. It's not easy. It's the quicker path to ascension. Some people ask me, Ra, how do I increase my vibratory frequency? Well, sit outside in your yard, water a plant, do a good deed for another person, have nothing to criticize that day, Smell incense that you like. Put on a good essential oil, organic, not perfumed, with a smell that you like, maybe pertaining for you to ground yourself or wherever you need to be. And be in that state. Maybe watch a magical movie. You'll increase your vibratory frequency. I will not tell you how to decrease it. That will be on another topic. But there are things that you can do, like substance, coffee, alcohol, cigarettes, nicotine. They measured the electromagnetic frequency of the body, and that pertains to Merkaba, light body. You drop. Even the thought of going to that craving that runs you, that you're really not in control, where you lose life force. And what we want to teach, and what I do with my free teachings with my pendants, is establish communication between higher self and condensed self, and be in agreement with you and you. And Esther Hicks says the worst thing is if you're not in agreement with you. The minute you have something to say about something that you observe, you're not in agreement with you. Let's find another one of those ego programs. Doubt. You plan to have an idea, yeah, and your ego is a bitch. Pardon my French. Your ego waits. Oh, you're blissful, having a good day. Even when somebody is high, the ego can pierce through that. Maybe you're not high enough, I don't know. And you can't get into this, I'm relaxed, I'm really enjoying this today. And then there's something that comes up, it's called doubt. It's a thought. Well, the thought wave is produced in a theta state. When you have healthy alpha states, it's not produced. When you have a gamma state, it's still a debate whether gamma is alpha or gamma is super alpha. You're in bliss, you enjoy, you're complete, you're present, you are here, you're alert, you are with the people. The ego can, and that has to do also with character. When your character is weak that moment, sneak in and whisper in your ear, and that's the whisperer, not the snake in the Garden of Eden. That is your own egoic self that goes like, maybe it doesn't work. It gives you a little cross chatter of why you should fail where you're going, or why you shouldn't be satisfied, or why you don't have the things that you need and actually to be satisfied. But you don't want to work for this, you want instant gratification. So your social coping mechanisms are also out the window, because me as kids, we were outside. If there's a problem, you handle it with the kids. Here it's like, click online, I don't want to talk about it, and ghost. So there's this invisible button, people ghost you. Or they talk to you when it's convenient, because nobody wants to confront. Nobody wants to say, well, you have a problem, let's handle this. If you can't be friends, then we walk away, but we actually have clarity, not as in a ghost. Ghost is also equivalent to unfinished business. That creates a haunting. Meaning, oh, well, years ago, that friend kind of disappeared on me. I wonder what happened. Yeah, you can say let go and you can forgive, but was it cleared? Maybe it was never cleared. And sometimes we over-intellectualize, over-spiritualize, Vedic text, astrology, everything, when the common sense is you either mess up or you do not. You either are a nice person or you're an asshole, pardon my French. And we all know the difference. We do not need to compartmentalize and dissect and separate and take it apart and thinking that we know how to explain and excuse when we're not doing our job, when we're not communicating properly. Whether it's parents, kids, relatives, whatever it is. And make no mistake, when you go back to your addiction, whatever that is, you're not in control. Your ego runs the show. When you're trying to have success and you're not having success, well, the ego runs the show. It's the shadow. It's not the devil or pointing the finger at this is the devil. It is the shadow creation, the hidden self that you're hiding from others, where no thought can be read directly. Yoda said that it's shrouded in dark clouds. Darkness or evil disguises itself. It's never obvious. It's always like, it's not transparent. It's when you know something is wrong. And let me see, because I have keynotes here. The ego is an opportunistic predator. It waits where you're weak. Ego doesn't come in where you're strong. There's also another one that's called being cocky. They measured somebody who had good brain waves, let's say alpha, in a good state. And then people were going to worship that person. Hey, you have a very healthy brain state, and flattery, and a lot of external impulse coming in. And the Zen master begins to respond to the flattery because he likes fame. It's addictive. More credit. All of a sudden your alpha levels drop. You go better or you go theta because you listen to what everybody else is saying, what you're supposed to be, and you become unreal. Meaning if you attain the power of magic, the embodiment of that manifests through you, and you get cocky with it, you lose your gifts. You lose the focus of running those gifts. They're not gone, but you creating this, you're not in control anymore. The ego runs the show. So the Igai, or Ijai, is energy guided inward. That you want to control. You want to balance. So also look at yourself within 7 days. Find less days to bitch about life or bitch about what's wrong. We do this also sometimes. Misery loves company. One person begins to bitch. That person is, I don't even understand. He or she's doing that and that and yada, yada, yada. And then you sit and you want to, out of love and out of sympathetic notion, say, yeah, I hear you, yeah, that person, yeah, that person, yeah. And you talk along and you're doing that, but you're not guiding that person out of that. The task is, and it's the toughest in business relationship, close relationships, twin flames, open, close, polyamoric, whatever your levels are of whatever you choose to do in this program sequence. This is only for this life. When this is over, you're not coming back like this. So make no mistake, use your time wise, because time is life, life is time. Don't waste your life with things that are unsolvable. But there are things that are ineffable, as the angels would say. There is a higher plan that is ineffable. And in this ascension process, we're trying to do our best to not cater to that ego, to enable the ego and continue the misery, more like guiding a path to, we can have fun here. But if you're not willing to share that, you can't be at that plateau. So we can let the student sit in front of the levitating crystalline high castle until the student, him or her, or whatever the definition of that is in this time and space continuum, we all at some point will understand this will go extinct, this will thrive and continue on and take off and get bigger. We have to make up our mind. And I wish when I was 24 I had a mentor where I can actually have a translation that would explain that to me in the way I'm explaining it to you. So hope that finds you in a good way. Know that when you're still continuing to do the stuff where you know you're wrong, you have to take medication in order to not do whatever, smoke or drink, you're not in control. You're listening to a doctor that bases medication on symptoms, and as long as you're taking pills, and I've seen people that is, and I'm not a doctor, I'm just giving you an observation here. If you're taking pills for 20 years and you still have the same problem, you're not healing. So open yourself up for an alternative to what can I do to change that. And maybe it's not the pill. Maybe it's eating different or thinking different. But it's up to you to find that way. Nobody can do that for you, no ashram, no following. You are your own guru. You are your own deva. And you look at reflections and aspects of yourself. And it always goes back to here. The Egyptian teaching teaches. The temple is within. All the organs, everything, brain, eye of Horus, pineal gland, everything is described in the mythology. But if you don't know how to read, you're forgetting you. And if you're forgetting you, you're living the imaginary me. And that's the, where am I going the next 50 years? Is it in an imaginary version that's going to deteriorate and at some point not going to match that what I had imagined? Or is it the real version that goes into a, I say, gamma state, pulse it up, be in bliss, not aggressive, be fierce. Animals are fierce. Look, a puma is fierce. He doesn't have to be aggressive unless he's hunting. There are aspects. Live them and allow that. And when something is cocky, when you say, well, that's cocky, well, what's cocky in you? So watch something, have no opinion about it, and then find out a way from whatever you watch. Maybe watch something that is not so much your taste. What can you do with that reaction to make it an action to better your life so you no longer have that resonance, as in dissonance, with having to respond to that? And that is what makes the master. So learn to control your shadow, learn to control your ego. We're all not masters yet. We're all on earth, so you're all worthy. You're all here, so might as well let's get together. Make it shareable. Share with others. And find out what's positive without effort and moderate. Everything in moderation. Food, anything you do. A sip here, okay. If you were deep in it, no sips, no puffs. Don't kid yourself. You know the routine. The ego loves to fool you, lure you into this trap, and then you think you got it all figured out when you have actually no clue where you're going, but you're busy with others that you claim they don't know where they're going. Look at yourself, go back to yourself, and if it hurts and if it's tight, then it triggered something that needs working. And if you can sit there and say, I need to work on that without lashing out, then I think you're getting power-ups. So that's one level of changing the vibratory state of your inner being. Four-dimensional aspects, like the key. First, second, third, and fourth. Fourth is a thought realm. Okay? This can be placebo for all I know. This is your backbone. They call it the Jet, also the Osiris backbone. And the idea I got here is inner stand, overstand, outer and understand, you know, yourself in this cube dimension. And then you'll get more of the picture. And the rabbit hole only goes deeper. It doesn't stop. So I gave you something this far, but it will go further. So thank you for listening, taking in your time, and please subscribe. Join your tribe. I see you most certainly on the flip side.